Amelia Horgan, Lost in Work, Escaping Capitalism. In Lost in Work, Escaping Capitalism, Amelia Horgan delves into the modern workplace and examines the impact of capitalism on the labor force. Horgan posits that the power dynamics in capitalism-centered work environments have led to increasingly exploitative, dehumanizing, and controlling conditions for workers. Drawing on historical analysis and worker experiences, the author explores the link between capitalism and environmental degradation, societal myths and attitudes around labor, and the continuing fight for worker rights through unionization. Throughout the summary, readers will discover the harsh realities of work in the 21st century and how we can take collective action to reclaim our lives and dignity from the grip of capitalism.
The coercive nature of capitalism. The concept of servitude has evolved from the drudgery of industrialization to the sophistication of technology, and the common denominator remains: workers must work to avoid poverty. Society dictates an individual's worth by the work they do, a notion exploited by capitalist owners who wield power through coercion. Industrialists like Henry Ford and Frederick Taylor pioneered the maximization of productivity, leading to the elimination of unions, public services, and reduced bathroom breaks. In the current information age workplaces, technology has further encroached on personal lives. The system requires individuals to need work more than work needs them, thereby ensuring a constant supply of exploitable labor. Opt-outs are shamed by media and leaders, and work under dehumanizing and dangerous conditions is becoming more prevalent. The relentless reminder that everyone needs a job makes society structured in such a way that we must work. Capitalism's exploitation of labor. Karl Marx argued that capitalism deteriorates collective and creative pursuits, degrading most tasks to mere purchases. The capitalist system disengages people from the means of production by disconnecting them from their land and driving them to factories for subsistence. History bears witness to capitalism's exploitation of labor, fomenting forced work contracts in Britain and slavery and prison labor in the U.S. Presently, low-paid men, women, and children work to exhaustion under hazardous conditions for meager compensation, forming supply chains for the developed world. Women's status, who have long worked unpaid in domestic labor to support the male workforce, have only recently taken strides in engaging in paid work. However, the struggle for access to public support and day care proves to be a hindrance for women and their families in lower socioeconomic strata. As a result, women in these categories end up performing domestic work for their better-off counterparts, keeping their families afloat on meager wages. Capitalism's emotional toll. Paid work is no longer just about fulfilling duties but also involves employers increasing control over workers' emotions. As a result, the working class is subjected to greater levels of coercion and lack of control. Though the supposed new work promises autonomy, it often results in more control, micromanagement, and rigid scheduling. At Amazon, algorithms monitor each worker's productivity, creating a sense of constant pressure to maintain performance. The cost of this emotional labor is immense, and it is the price paid by the working class due to the coercion and exploitation endemic to capitalism. Illusion of work. Millions of workers in the UK suffer from physical and mental health issues due to work-related stress. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated these conditions, causing an increase in death rates among essential workers. Work culture, with its pressure to perform and intrusions into personal time, robs workers of recovery time, leading to fatigue and burnout. The promise of work has become an illusion, leaving most people poor and miserable. Wealthy individuals and those in elite employment have isolated themselves from the pandemic's worst effects, while essential workers face greater risks and little support from their employers. The illusion of prestigious jobs. The promise of a secure and well-paying job in exchange for investing in a degree or skills is fading away, leaving workers with mounting debts and uncertain employment. Those lucky enough to secure stable positions continue to dwindle, while the rest resort to insecure and low-paying jobs in the fast-growing service sector. This societal shift has created a culture where poverty and unemployment are labeled as individual failings. Furthermore, workers are often blamed for job failures, perpetuating the myth of the value of hard work and the shame of idleness despite low wages and inadequate working conditions. The erosion of public services and dignity of work. Public services and the dignity of work are eroding due to governments undermining union gains, gig and temporary job markets, and worsening conditions in the developing world. Work should provide meaning, respect, and self-expression, but control is crucial in finding enjoyment and fulfillment. The Dark Side of Capitalism. In The Dark Side of Capitalism, the author argues that capitalism perpetuates economic and social disparities by wresting control from workers and granting it to owners. The myth of meritocracy justifies these inequities, pitting the wealthy and connected against the working class. This creates mistrust and harms society. Additionally, the relentless pursuit of profits incentivizes firms to extract and burn fossil fuels, denude forests, and generate toxic materials that destroy the environment. Ultimately, the expectations of capitalists are incompatible with the continuation of life. Push back against consumerism. Capitalism has long embraced the myth that human nature is centered around trading and consuming to achieve status. However, people should not blindly accept this ideology. Instead, push back against excessive consumerism and commercialism to avoid contributing to the potential destruction of the planet. Consider the processes and labor that go into the things you buy, such as clothing, which is farmed out to the lowest bidder and produced in the dangerous sweatshops of the poorest nations. Employers seek profits by any means, from gig workers to overseas production, including child and slave labor. Workers should resist employers' efforts to extract every ounce of productivity from them and become aware of the surveillance technologies used to monitor them. By fighting the monotony of work, switching jobs, and learning new skills, individuals can make themselves indispensable and overcome the system's fungibility. Ultimately, a future without the exploitation and misery of capitalist work is possible and worth fighting for. Union power for collective change. Unions offer a solution to the isolation and powerlessness of individual workers, but they have faced opposition from media, corporate leaders, and politicians. Despite the decline in union membership, the COVID-19 pandemic has sparked renewed interest. While unions have historically lacked the same power as owners, they remain a potent force in guaranteeing fair pay and preventing abuses of power. Unions and workers must advocate for a livable and dignified minimum standard, and demand an end to one-sided work agreements that strip workers of control over their lives. Through collective social action, unions offer a pathway to meaningful change.
Ultimately, Lost in Work, Escaping Capitalism, uncovers the injustices and challenges caused by capitalism's emphasis on profit, competition, and control. Amelia Horgan points out the widespread negative impact it has on workers' lives, affecting their mental and physical health, their personal lives, and the environment. She encourages readers to challenge these oppressive systems, question the processes behind the products we consume, resist capitulating to exploitative labor practices, and, most importantly, engage in collective social action to drive change. As the author suggests, a future without the indignities and misery of capitalist work is possible, but it requires a united effort to rewrite the rules of work and reimagine it as a source of meaning, dignity, and respect.